I am losing my mind today. I had gotten just through a massive editing session for my 4 hour analysis of the flavor of that Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set coming out. And then you know what I saw right afterwards? Literally, right after I finished getting it onto YouTube, I saw two trailers back to back. And those two trailers were for the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection and the Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster. Now, this remaster has been on my radar for a long time, ever since that Nvidia leak from years ago. Something you gotta know is that Final Fantasy Tactics game is my favorite game ever made, but then also Mortal Kombat is my second favorite gaming franchise of all time. So when I saw these things back to back, I was like, what the heck is going on? Really? I've been wanting both of these things for a long time. The last time that the arcade classic MK games were purchasable on modern hardware was like in 2010 on the PS3. There was like an arcade collection. The fact that they not only made the arcade collection, but they also are giving you the GBA games, that's awesome, dude. Deadly Alliance on GBA is a solid title. I think Tournament Edition specifically is the better one. I would have to actually double check. But those are awesome titles to be able to just get thrown in. And then on top of this, you get MK4, UMK3. This is genius, man. And I think the only thing that could sweeten the deal here is if they gave you all versions of all the console versions for all of these. Because N64 MK4 was very different from PS1 MK4, and that was very different from the Dreamcast MK Gold, which are all MK4, but they're all very different, and then they're different from the arcade version. So I think the only thing that could really sweeten the deal here is if they were to give you all of those options. Now, the other big question in the room here is are we getting the 3D era too? I think that's probably asking a little bit too much. You're probably not going to get Deception, Deadly Alliance, Armageddon, and Shaolin Monks, although that would be a sweet second collection. You put those 4 games in a collection together, that'd be amazing. It'd be even better if they just threw Versus DC in, because nobody's going to buy Versus DC on its own, but it would be nice to have that on a modern platform to play. It's kind of ironic, because I was going to start reviewing the SNES and Genesis ports of these games, and I think I'm going to have to increase my timetable on that to get those videos out before this drops, because then I would love to actually do a massive deep dive review of every individual game on that collection. You guys, I mean, many of you are Mortal Kombat people. That's where you sub to the channel, and something like this is like the thing I've been looking forward to. And yeah, I definitely am going to be getting this collection 100% when it comes out. As soon as it becomes available for pre-order, I'll be grabbing it, because I already pre-ordered the Final Fantasy Tactics remaster with the updated version thrown in. So I want to talk about a few things I noticed in that MK Legacy Collection trailer, and that just really blew my mind. So at the end, Boone and Tobias are at an arcade cabinet. Now, that might not seem like a big deal, I suppose, to a lot of people, but Tobias has been separate from Mortal Kombat, I think, ever since right after MK4. His version of MK5 never saw reality. It never saw the light of day. There's I think some inspiration of that pulled into MKX with the Combat Kids, because he wanted to basically have kids for all the fighters and all the characters. And those were going to be the ones that MK5 was going to be, which is kind of what the idea for MKX is. It's a good idea, I think. I would have loved to see Tobias's version, especially with the 3D era, because that era was really, really good when it came to lore and the way that lore was crafted. It's my favorite area of Mortal Kombat for the lore, and one of my favorite areas in the series as a whole as a result. The lore really does not get better than the 3D era. I would love to have modern re-releases for those. I would buy them all individually if that's what I had to do, but honestly, they're really, really old games. They should be packaged together. You really do want to play them back to back anyway, and they're so closely related that I think if they updated one, they could update the rest. It's kind of ironic in addition, because I have had this video made for the past week, 2 weeks or so, for a video series of things like my wish list for Mortal Kombat 13. I was going to do a series, kind of pace it out a little bit because I don't have all of them made yet. And I'm going to actually drop my first one next Friday. It was actually the series was going to start next month. It wasn't going to start this month, but this is kind of going to make me cut a video and just replace it because I actually mentioned something about Boone and Tobias being at an arcade cabinet in that video that I've already made well before this happened. It's very funny and ironic that turned out that way. I also am, one of the things I'm like really, really super excited about is all of the documentary content. The Karateka game that came out a few years ago had really, really good deep dives into the production of the games, and the Atari Classics Collection, I think, also did this too. That's probably not the exact name of that thing, but the Atari Flashback Collection, or whatever it was called, had really, really good insight into the development of those games. And so I would love to see some very, very in-depth knowledge of the production of these early Mortal Kombat games. And something else I would also like to see is easy high quality access to behind the scenes footage for the production of these games that you don't have to go to mksecrets.net, their channel on YouTube, or I don't even know if their real page is around anymore, but that you don't need to go there anymore to get this like kind of like low quality footage of these things. I would love to have all of that in one place for these games. I'd love to hear about the production of the different versions. So I am like super, super stoked for this collection. This is like, it's skyrocketed to the top of things I'm most excited for. And there's only one thing I'm more excited for than this, and that's the other thing this video is about. So Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite game ever made. If you don't like Final Fantasy, you don't like the look of it, because you don't like the vibes it gives off, Tactics is still something I would recommend because it is it is a spinoff for the series. It feels like a spinoff for the series. It is not the same, and it does not play like the same either. It is my favorite game I've ever played in my life. It's so high. The replay value of Final Fantasy Tactics is insane. There's so many things that you can do. There's so much variety with the gameplay that, yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics, I have been waiting for this re-release collection port. I didn't even care what it was. As long as it didn't butcher the experience, I even would have taken a remake with a lower quality art direction just to have that gameplay again, because that's really good. But this thing is even better, because not only are you going to get the gameplay of Final Fantasy Tactics, but you can switch between this kind of like classics version of it, which is everything is PS1 except the translation, and some of the extra jobs that you get are War of the Lions. I would have liked the ability to switch between the PSX translation and the War of the Lions translation. There are things about both translations that are very, very cool, and I would have liked to have both of them and be able to switch between them on the fly. Maybe that's something they could patch in later. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard to get that second translation in, since it should just be a bunch of text boxes, I would assume. So that's something I really want to see, hopefully, that they can do, because there are some things about the original translation I like over War of the Lions. I think War of the Lions overall is pretty good, but there's just some things that you just can't beat the classics on, you know what I mean? And then alternatively, if you really, really are adverse to old looking games, I don't have that problem. I actually really love the way old games look, but if you were adverse to those, you can have a more smoothed out, more modern looking experience. Now, when I first saw it, I was like, well, they kind of took the edge off of things. It doesn't look as cool anymore. But I will play through the game both ways. I want to play through it through the classics, and I want to play through it with this new thing because they add a lot of voice acting. I'd like to see how the voice acting changes the experience. I think changing something like that can completely revolutionize or completely make you feel different about your experience. I mean, my perfect example of this is watching Mad Max Fury Road in color and in the black and chrome edition. Those are very different experiences, even though it's the same film and it's just color that's changing. You really start to appreciate how color changes the film. and I would love to see how voice acting versus reading impacts the game. I'm going to err on the side that reading is probably going to be better, because I love being able to read at your own pace. I read very quickly, typically speaking. Now, if they get good voice actors, good VA work for it, which the trailer has only really shown off good VA work. So I'm very excited for both of these. Guys, I had to make an extra video. This thing's going to drop like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, something like that. I'm staying up late to talk about this stuff because I had some other things to do, but I had to talk about how excited I am about these things. I'm so hyped to play these 2 games, and I am so hyped for every Mortal Kombat fan in my community to get all of these classic games together. And I'm very hyped for all the Final Fantasy fans in my community and anyone who's been interested in Final Fantasy Tactics to also get access to what is in my personal opinion, the best game in the franchise. And also, personal opinion, best game ever made. Guys, you've been watching Rayl Deal Games. This is just a very, very quick update video. I hope you guys join me on Friday for my Final Fantasy X video, and next Friday for my MK13 wishlist part 1 video. So if you have a moment right now, maybe check out one of my other videos on the screen, but if you don't, that's also fine. It's probably in the morning for you right now anyway. Regardless of what you choose to do, thank you for keeping it real with Rayl Deal Games, and I'll see y'all next time.